The LinkedIn Podcast Network is sponsored by TIAA. TIAA makes you a retirement promise, a promise of a guaranteed retirement paycheck for life. Learn more at TIAA.org/promises pay off.
Hey, before we get started, I just wanted to make a quick plug for my weekly newsletter. It's totally free, and it's a great way to get the best, most useful ideas from nonfiction without having to, read a ton of books. I do that for you, along with my team, and we highlight the ideas that we think will change your life for the better. To sign up, use the link in the episode notes or go to Next Big Idea on LinkedIn. Thanks. Now on with the show.
LinkedIn presents.
Hi, this is the Next Big Idea Daily. I'm your host, Michael Kovnat, and it's Friday. Do you have any rituals in your life? You probably have habits like brushing your teeth, maybe exercising. But if you engage in those kind of routines mindfully, they can become rituals. They can become deeply meaningful practices that can bring an extraordinary layer of joy to your ordinary life. Michael Norton explains how to embrace this in his new book, The Ritual Effect: From Habit to Ritual, Harness the Surprising Power of Everyday Actions. Michael is a professor of business administration at the Harvard Business School and the co-author of Happy Money, The Science of Happier Spending. Here he is to share a few of his big ideas.
When I say the word ritual, the first thing that comes to mind for people are traditional, established, often religious rituals with a long history. We've been doing them this way for hundreds or even thousands of years, and we'll continue to do them this way in the future. And those rituals can be incredibly meaningful for people, a deep expression of their faith or a deep expression of their culture. They are really important for how we make meaning in our lives. But at the same time, what we found in our research is that people are often also freelancing. They're DIYing their own rituals. They're coming up with them for themselves in really quirky and interesting ways. So if you ask people, think of someone you loved that passed away, what did you do? People will say, there was a funeral. Often we follow the practices of my faith, and that was incredibly important and meaningful for me. But I also did something small to honor the person that was really specific to us. One woman in our research said that she washed his car the way he used to do when he was alive. You can feel what she was doing. Her husband obviously had a favorite car that he took care of, and she decided every week to continue to wash it in the way that he had. There's no 2,000-year-old text about washing cars as an expression of grief, but this woman came up with this very specific action in order to try to help her with her grief. And we see that time and again across domains of ritual, that people are absolutely honoring the cherished religious and cultural rituals that they've grown up with. And under the hood a little bit, or under the surface, they're also devising their own. People say, yes, we got married and this is what the wedding was like. And then they say, but we also do this little thing ourselves every day. One couple said, we clink our forks 3 times before we eat. Again, there's no book that says clink your fork 3 times before we eat, but people are freelancing their own all the time. And this to me really opens up the world of ritual for us in a way that I at least hadn't been thinking before. I'd been also thinking of them as the inherited rituals that come ready-made. And I wasn't thinking so much about them as an opportunity to come up with our own rituals in many domains of life, with not just with grief and with relationships, but at work or with our families, or when we're trying to get psyched up for the day or prepare for a big meeting. We have more flexibility than we might have thought to actually devise our own rituals and have them become meaningful for us. Food can become much more than just merely food. In fact, one of the primary things we see rituals doing is enhancing otherwise boring or mundane experiences and turning them into something special and emotional and meaningful. And sometimes people will say, if I say I study rituals, they'll say, well, I don't do any rituals. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not new agey. I don't believe in crystals or something like that. And I'll ask them very simple questions. So one question, for example, is, have you ever been sitting at a table and someone brought over a cake that they had very carefully frosted to look amazingly good, then decided to stick wax candles in it, light the candles on fire so the wax drips all over the cake that they just spent a lot of time trying to make look really good, sing kind of a tuneless song where each person is singing in a different key, and it's a very, very slow, song, put the cake in front of you. You blow on the cake to blow the candles out, probably also if you're sick, blowing germs all over the cake, and then everybody eats the cake. And of course, people say, well, yes, of course I've done that. And I frame it like that because you can see, of course, what an odd, unusual thing some cultures have decided to do with cake. But of course, it's not cake, it's birthday cake. And even the number of candles on the cake come to have meaning to signify that we're moving from this age to the next age. So when you think about food, we use ritual to take things that are just mundane. Cake is kind of delicious, but it's just a cake until we build a birthday into it. And it shows how much we love the person who we're celebrating. Another great example is you have liquid in a glass, and before you drink it, everyone lifts their liquid in the glass and clinks them together and says a one or two word phrase like cheers or slancha, whatever the phrase might be. There's phrases all over the world that mean something like health or good luck. Why are we clinking glasses together at the risk of spilling liquid? Because again, we're taking the alcohol or whatever else we have in our cup and turning it into something more than just liquid. We're not just hydrating when we do things like this. We're creating meaning and we're bonding ourselves together. In things like family dinners, we can see that families could just sit down and inhale calories and then leave, but that's not often what families do. They have their own little quirks, their own little practices. They might start dinner by saying, everyone express something that they're grateful for today. Again, it's a chance for the meal and the food to do something much more for us than just be a meal or food. And that really is a key insight for rituals, is that with things like food and drink and even water, with ritual, we can turn them into something that really means a lot to us and has a lot of emotional resonance. We discovered 4 elements of relationship rituals that are really important in determining what role they end up playing with our loved ones and with our marriages. The first is that if you think about your marriage or long-term partnership, what it really is an expression of commitment. You are saying, we have been together for a while and we are going to keep staying together for a while as well. That's what we mean by committed. And we do things like put rings on each other's fingers, but how else do we show commitment to each other than signing paperwork and having ceremonies? Couples will do small things, their own little rituals. The couple that clinks forks 3 times every time before they meet, as a sign of, this is us, this is our ritual. We've been doing it for years and we're going to keep doing it for years as well. And related to that is the second lesson of relationship rituals, which is that it's extremely important that they're exclusive. We clink our forks together 3 times, unlike other couples, and unlike in our previous relationships or in our future relationships. When people learn that their little relationship rituals have been recycled, they can be furious. Your ex is allowed to date other people, get married, and even have a family. They are not allowed to reuse the clinking forks 3 times. That is something that fills us with rage, which again shows how important these little rituals are in expressing our love for each other.